They set out to destroy the family, and they have almost achieved it. Now, that was a quote from years ago by the woman who founded the women's refuge movement, Erin Pitsey. And she was speaking about feminists as a whole. She didn't mention the media in that particular. It was either an interview or an article so long ago, I've forgotten now. But the mainstream media, I would say, set out, or certainly the women working within the media, they set out to destroy the family, and they have achieved it. They have demonized men, and there is no greater weapon of hatred against men than these bitches, and that's practically every woman working within the mainstream media. There's no greater weapon that these witches have used on news desks, daytime TV, in soap opera plots, dramas, whatever, wherever, newspaper articles, women's magazines articles, go right through the entire media, publishing industry. Domestic violence is the key for these bitches to wreck and ruin everyone else's families. Not their own, of course. They just want to destroy everyone else's because they're pigs like that. And it's the job of MGTOWs, unfortunately, to advise men that, look, if you get married, you have precious little rights in the divorce courts anyway. But if you're falsely accused of domestic violence, which is now, it's a daily occurrence, thousands of men get falsely accused every single day, possibly tens of thousands all over the world, who knows. And the police have used this as a smokescreen, the subject of domestic violence. They deal with it like the mainstream media, usually, not always, but usually with a gender-based bias factor of 100% against men. Politicians do this, and the police use it as a smokescreen to cover up the fact that they can't solve crime that actually does exist. If 1 in 4 women was battered by a husband, when was the last time you walked past a woman in the street with a black eye or a busted nose? The police don't have to lie about it because feminists do the lying on their behalf, and the Home Office don't have to necessarily lie about it because in this country, because they've broadened the parameters of what actually constitutes domestic violence. The parameters are so wide now that anyone in a relationship can claim, well, my partner shouted at me, that's domestic abuse, and I'm going to use that against them now in a divorce court. Only it only seems to work for women. And the divorce system exists for 2 reasons, and 2 reasons only. Number 1 is to destroy the family on behalf of the globalists, the huge corporations and the bankers that run it. I'll do a separate video on that at a later date. They do that, they destroy the family, they know what they're doing, they know that the accusations are false, most of them, they couldn't care less, but they also exist in order to perpetuate their own existence and stuff their pockets with money. The lawyers, the judges, the parasitical hangers-on, the social service workers, the psychologists, and so on. And you think these people don't know what they're doing? And you take anyone from the divorce industry who says, who claims that the vast majority of domestic violence claims made by women are true. That person, if they have experience in the domestic violence industry, is either extremely deluded or is far more likely just lying. The divorce industry doesn't give a damn about children. It cares about destroying the family, giving men a marginal chance of getting custody of their children in order to tempt them into putting their money into a system which, as I say, exists simply in order to perpetuate its own existence. I've just remembered Charles Dickens' quote, "The first principle of the law is to create business for itself." I'll go into that particular part of domestic violence and how it affects divorce in videos at a later date. But the mainstream media, if you disbelieve that they're lying about domestic violence and they're doing it deliberately. Now, does anyone out there seriously believe that with all their tens of thousands of researchers worldwide, hundreds of thousands of researchers, that they can't find the same information that everyone else can? And I'm going to leave a link, a domestic violence link, in the comments section below that should show you, with the countless DV statistics on there, that domestic violence has nothing to do with gender, as Erin Pitsey herself once pointed out on a lunchtime news programme. But the person interviewing her wanted to just argue and argue. They just won't bloody have it. But anyway, you think of all the domestic violence victims that the mainstream media willfully try to avoid. They will mention them sometimes, when they absolutely have to. Now, next door neighbours. Now, the police try and use them. Oh, you must, if someone next door to you is committing an act of domestic violence, we want you to report it to us. Well, aren't the next door neighbours themselves who have to live next to these people, aren't they the victims? It could be a violent man, it could be a violent woman, it could be a violent couple. And some surveys, and I'm going to quote you Erin Pitsey again, 62 of the first 100 women who came to my family refuge were as violent or even more violent than the men they left. And I've seen other surveys showing that in most domestic violence cases, alcohol or drugs is involved, and in most cases, the couple are as bad as each other. And if they have neighbours on both sides, you have more neighbours who are victims than the warring couple themselves. What about the neighbours' children as well? What about the neighbours? When do you ever hear the man-hating, lying, mainstream bully bitch women of the media talking about this? Never. They will talk about more other groups of victims, people who live in residential homes, old folks' homes, nursing homes, who are residents in mental institutions. These are the places of domicile, whether permanent or temporary, makes no difference. Therefore, any abuse of or neglect of amounts to domestic violence. Now, the media, again, they will deal with this when they're forced to, when a scandal breaks out at a particular home. Otherwise, it's all brushed under the carpet as they continue to try and peddle it as a gender issue, which it isn't. And they know this. They do it to fuel the divorce industry. They do it to destroy families. And when they're lying about it on daytime television, when they're lying mostly to mostly female audience, and they know that they have children with them, they are deliberately trying to contaminate those children's brains. They are trying to teach little girls to hate men, and they're trying to teach boys to be ashamed of themselves. And it's their behaviour, when you consider that they're getting into these houses, when they're in your home, they're effectively invading it. Yeah, sure, you can turn the TV off, but most bloody stupid people are too stupid to do it. So they're allowing these bitches who are talking about this abuse to abuse their own children. And how often, if you take the number of times that the mainstream media deal with domestic violence against heterosexual women, and I'll mention lesbians in a moment, and how many times do they deal with domestic abuse of children, they'll deal with domestic violence against heterosexual women far, 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 far more often. Who are the most important victims? We all know the answer to that, and the reason that the man-hating bitches who run daytime TV, the newspapers, look, the whole fucking media, even though it's owned by men, they allow these bitches free rein. The reason they don't deal with it is because they know full damn well that every statistic that is credible, whether it's from social services or government, or the fact that more women are prosecuted every year for child abuse, they know that most child abuse is committed by women, and they don't want to tell the truth. If they ever do deal with the subject, they try and give you the impression that they don't bring gender into the equation, or they try and give you the impression through stereotyping that it's men who do most of this. That's how evil they are. So I think I'm going to finish off this first. I've been promising to do a video on domestic violence for a long time now, and I'm going to do more in the future, that's for sure. I'll finish off with lesbians, and sorry gay guys, I don't want to be like the media and leave out groups, but mention lesbians. I think the CDC, the Centre for Disease Control, had a survey in 2010, which I think was improved on in 2013, which showed that lesbians are considerably more likely to suffer from domestic violence than heterosexual women. So where are the mainstream media on this? Why don't they, these morning TV programs, when they say, oh, we're so concerned, they put on their totally synthetic, gravely concerned faces, bullshitting it, hamming it up for the cameras. They have some supposed expert in the studio. They don't do their lying for themselves anymore. They used to do in my days. Now they get these so-called experts on domestic violence, i.e. lying feminist bitches, fueling the divorce industry to tell lies for them and just come out with claims that are absolutely outlandish. And I think I'm going to wrap this one up for today, but I'm definitely going to cover this again and again and again and again, just as the mainstream media are going to continue lying through omission again and again and again until they've destroyed the entire family and destroyed society itself. Thank you.